Hi, my name is Rachel Paxton, and today I'm going to show you how to can cream of tomato soup. In this class, you'll learn how to make and can homemade cream of tomato soup. I will lead you through the process step by step. I will give you the recipe and the canning supply list that you can download and print out for future reference. You'll find these in your course materials, and you will also gain the confidence you need to try more pressure canning recipes on your own. My name is Rachel Paxton. I'm a freelance writer and mom of 5 children, ages 28 to 6. This is me and my husband Dave. We've been married for 20 years. These are 3 of our children. Zachary and Christian are twins, are almost 11, and Trenton is 6. We also have a 28 and 26-year-old daughter. I've been canning for more than 20 years, and I'm also the owner of the website creativehomemaking.com. For this recipe, you'll need 16 cups of tomatoes, a cup of celery, 2 cups of onion, 6 bay leaves, a cup of clear gel, 2 tablespoons of salt, and a 1/4 cup of sugar or stevia, which is optional. You'll also need a pressure canner, a jar lifter, a wide mouth funnel, 4 to 5 pint canning jars, a vegetable chopper, an immersion blender, and a food mill, which are optional. This is a dial gauge pressure canner. If you don't already have a pressure canner, you're going to need to get one for this recipe. You might be wondering why you need one for this tomato recipe, because a lot of tomato recipes you can use a boiling water canner to can. But in this case, this recipe does not have enough acid in it. A lot of tomato recipes call for extra lemon juice or some other kind of acid, so it makes it safe for a boiling water canner. But in this case, there is not enough acid in the recipe to boiling water can it, and you don't want to take any chances of it not being safe. So we're going to use a pressure canner for this recipe. If you don't have one, it costs about $75 to buy one on Amazon. You will use it all the time if you're going to ever can soups or meats or vegetables. You're going to definitely need a pressure canner. There's a link to the one that I have in the supply list in your course materials. There are 2 different kinds of pressure canners, a dial gauge canner and a weighted gauge canner. This is the dial gauge. This is the one that I use, and it's the most common. That's the one I'm going to show you how to use. You also need a jar lifter, a wide mouth funnel. These are specially made for canning jars. And a vegetable chopper is optional. These are really nice because it takes all the hard work out of cutting tomatoes and onions and bell peppers and things like that. I use mine all the time for making dinner, for canning. It's great for making salsa. They're about $25. There's a link to this in your supply list. And like I said, it's optional, but it's really nice to have. So if you're ever looking for a birthday present or a Christmas list idea for somebody, then this would be definitely something to put on your list. The first thing you need to do is sterilize your jars in the dishwasher. You need 4 to 5 jars for this recipe. So I would do 5 just in case. You don't have to do this in the dishwasher. If you don't have a dishwasher, you can put them in boiling water on the stove to sterilize them, but I do it in the dishwasher. It's easier and they're all ready. You can reuse jars and rings as long as there's nothing wrong with them. The jars need to make sure there's no cracks in them. Lids cannot be reused. You need to use a new lid each time. You want to fill your pressure canner with about 3 inches of water and get it started heating on the stove. Next, chop your tomatoes, your onions, and your celery either with the vegetable chopper or with a knife. And you want to put your tomatoes, onions, celery, bay leaves in a large stock pot and simmer until the vegetables are soft, about 20 to 30 minutes. You're just simmering them until they're soft enough to run through a food mill. This is what a food mill looks like. These are about $40. If you don't have one or you don't want to buy one, you can also press the vegetables through a strainer by placing them in the strainer and then using the back of a spoon to press down on them to get the juice to go through. That will definitely work if you don't have any other options. It's a little harder work. These food mills are really nice. You can use them to make all kinds of sauces and applesauce and I use it for my sweet and sour sauce and my barbecue sauce, so I use mine all the time, and it's stainless steel, so it's going to last a long time. These are great for getting the seeds and peels out of your vegetables so that you don't have to peel them ahead of time. So after you put your vegetables through here, you want to put the tomato juice back into your stock pot. And next you want to whisk in the clear gel. This is what clear gel looks like. The reason you need clear gel is to thicken your soup. You don't have to use it, but your soup will be really thin if you don't. Clear gel is a form of cornstarch, and you might wonder why you can't just use regular cornstarch. Regular cornstarch is found to be not safe for canning. Clear gel is a form of cornstarch that is safe for canning, so you want to use clear gel. It makes your soups and sauces turn out with a better consistency anyway than cornstarch would. This is used for canning pie fillings and salsa, and I use it in my sweet and sour sauce and barbecue sauce and this tomato soup, so I use it a lot. I found this at a local health food store in bulk for a couple dollars a pound, so it's a pretty good deal. I have never seen it at another store. It's kind of hard to find. You may have to buy it on Amazon. There are two kinds of clear gel. One is just called clear gel and one is called ultra gel. Regular clear gel needs to be heated in order to thicken. Ultra gel can be used cold or hot, so I usually get the ultra gel. For this recipe, you can use either one since you're going to be heating it. So clear gel is pretty neat stuff, so if you're going to be canning a lot, you definitely want to get some of this. I usually use my immersion blender to blend it in. It might get a little lumpy. You can use a whisk trick to get the lumps out, but this immersion blender works great. You can also take the sauce out of the pan and put it in your blender to get rid of any lumps, but this is a lot easier. These are about $20 and I use this all the time too. And at this point you can also add salt and sugar to taste. You don't have to put sugar in it, but if you want it to taste like cream of tomato soup from the store, you might want to add a little sugar to it. You can also use stevia instead, but those are both optional. So your soup should have thickened pretty well by now and looks almost like just like from the store. And you want to ladle it into your sterilized jars, leaving 1-inch headspace. The headspace is the amount of space from the top of the soup to the top of the jar. The headspace is very important when you're pressure canning. Your food will expand in the jar during the heating process, and if there's not enough room for it to expand, your jar could explode. You don't want that to happen, so just make sure you follow the recipe and you won't have to worry about that. Next, you want to wipe the rims of the jars with a damp paper towel or dish towel and place the rings and lids on the jar. It's important to wipe them off or your lids may not seal. Next, you want to put your jars in the canner. You're going to be processing them at 10 pounds of pressure for 25 minutes. You might notice that the jars are not covered with water, and when you're boiling water canning, your jars are always covered with water, but in pressure canning, it is not necessary for them to be covered. You just want to make sure that the water doesn't boil out of the pan during the boiling process. So 3 inches of water is fine, and so if the water doesn't cover your jars, that's okay. And also, if you live over 1,000 feet in elevation, you're going to need to process your jars for longer than 25 minutes to make sure that the temperature gets to the right temperature. So if you need to adjust your processing time, there's an altitude adjustment chart in your course materials, so just reference that. And if you're at 1,000 feet or below, then you'll want to use 25 minutes. So next, place your lid on the pan and line up the arrows so it locks on tight. Turn your heat up onto high. You want to take the pressure regulator off your vent pipe, and soon you'll see steam coming out of the vent. You want to let the steam come out for about 10 minutes, and then you want to put the pressure regulator back on the vent, and soon the lid lock will pop up showing you that the pressure has built in your pan. And then you'll also start to see the the dial gauge move. The dial on the gauge will start going up. You want it to get to 10 pounds pressure. When it gets to 10, you want to turn the temperature on your stove way down, or the pressure will get too high. You want to turn it down to low and watch it. You don't want it to fall below 10, or you have to start your processing time over again. So when it gets to 10 and stays at 10, you want to start your timing process. And after the time is up, after your 25 minutes is up, you want to turn the stove off and just let it sit there until the lid lock goes back down again, about 10 or 15 minutes. And after the pressure is released and the lid lock goes down, wait another 10 minutes or so, and then you can remove the lid. And a note about ceramic stoves: you want to make sure, if you have a ceramic stove top, that your manufacturer says it's okay to use a pressure canner. Some of them say that it's okay, or that they need to be a certain size, or you have to use a certain burner. The pressure canners get hot enough that your stove could possibly crack, so you want to make sure that that is okay, that that's not going to happen. And also, ceramic stovetops regulate their temperature differently than a regular stove. And so when the temperature is going up and down, it can make the pressure go up and down in your pressure canner. And if you watch it, you can adjust it so that it stays the right pressure, but it's kind of difficult to do that. So it's possible, but it's not very fun. So check with your manufacturer before you try using your ceramic stovetop. Next, you want to remove your jars from the canner and put them on a towel on the kitchen counter to cool. Your jars will usually seal in the canner, but if not, within 10 to 15 minutes or so, you should hear a pinging noise when they seal. You can tell if they're sealed or not by pressing your finger down in the center of the lid. If the lid goes down and up again, it is not sealed. And if it doesn't seal, you can still eat it. You just put it in the refrigerator, and you have to eat it within a week. But if it is sealed, you can store it in a dark, cool area for 1 to 2 years. I was excited to try this cream of tomato soup recipe. My family loves to eat tomato soup and toasted cheese sandwiches, but I was skeptical whether they would like the homemade version or not. I've tried a couple different recipes, and this one has been our favorite so far. It's nice and thick. The kind from the store, you usually put in an equal amount of milk or water to your concentrate. In this case, I wouldn't put in an equal amount because it's not quite as thick as the concentrate from the store. In one of these jars, there's 2 cups of tomato soup, and I would add probably a cup of milk to it when I'm heating it on the stove, but you can add it to your taste, however much you want, and add some salt and pepper to it and enjoy it. We really liked it, and I hope you do too. So I hope you enjoy this recipe, and I hope to see you again soon.